All right, we're live. All right. Hello, people of the internet. I'm Karanda Adair with Carvel Digital, and I'm here with Jacinta, who is a graduate of our Content Bootcamp program. And in case you're new around here, so my background is as a WordPress developer turned marketer. I'm now a certified automation service provider. And so we do two things to help mission driven service based businesses learn to use content to sell their services. And that is Bootcamp, which we're going to talk about today. And then we have a done for you side called InSource. And that's where once you have your content dialed and it's actually working, then we can help you systemize and automate that so you get your time back. So we are ramping up to launch the fall cohort of bootcamp. So that's happening over the next 6 weeks. So I'm going to be having conversations with bootcamp grads so you can hear from them what their experience was like and decide if this is something that can help you in your business and if you'd like to work with us in 2022. So thank you, Jacinta. Welcome. Thanks so much for doing this. Why don't you just introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what your business was that you had at the time that you were looking into boot camp, and then we'll go from there.
Yes. Thank you so much. So I'm Jacinta Alisia, and life has done all sorts of things in the last year since I was in boot camp. So when I started boot camp, I was a baby entrepreneur, still am, and was exploring coaching, empowerment coaching specifically, and had been in Karanda's orbit for a while and like kind of fangirling over her expertise and like the knowledge nuggets that she drops and all of the above, and wanted to work with her, and finally got into a place where I had the ability to commit to do so. And so I was looking to kind of get my ass into gear at the time to like just get my stuff in order. I wanted to start things like the right way foundationally in my business. Even though I was like a baby entrepreneur, I still wanted to begin as I meant to go on, which is why I joined boot camp. So I was exploring empowerment coaching for professionals, and I exited a long-time corporate career last fall, and now I'm in a completely different industry, working in someone else's business, and I have mine on pause, and I'm kind of exploring what it is that I even want to do, and kind of recovering just from all the things that have happened in the last like 6 months. So yeah.
A lot of people I think can relate to the life taking and business taking lots of turns that they didn't expect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what was the thing that sparked your decision, I guess, that said, okay, I need to do this and these are my goals? Like, what was it that you didn't have at the time that you really wanted?
Yeah, that's a great question. I didn't have a great understanding around the best way to utilize technology in my business so that I could be more efficient. I feel like so many entrepreneurs have this issue with like tech being a foreign concept or a royal pain in the ass, and like not everybody, but like it's a big barrier, or can be. And I knew that wasn't my area of expertise, but it was yours. So that like not having the expert level knowledge in like the best software, the best tools, the best way to like just work smart from the beginning to make my life easier and to get from point A to point B faster.
Okay. So you wanted to avoid, I think what I see is the typical pathway is for people to just go, what's a free tool that does X, and start patching together a bunch of things that may or may not work that you then have to like scrap and rebuild later. So you just wanted to skip that whole thing.
Yeah, I was a fangirl of the podcast, still am, and learned so much, and learned that was not the way to do it. But, again, I can only go so far with that information, and it would take me longer to apply it, right? So Absolutely.
Okay. So you decided to jump in, and what was the like onboarding and sort of getting settled into the community experience like?
It was a really smooth and seamless process. Everything was built very beautifully, like in terms of the automation, like the information that I got in the beginning, throughout the program, even the offboarding process and ending and graduating the program. Yeah, it was all very clear, and which I love. I love it, knowing what to expect and what the parameters are and everything. And you've done a beautiful job of laying that out to make it easy to just start diving in, as opposed to figuring out like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to be doing? Um, yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, totally. And so what do you think your big challenge was that you kind of had to overcome? Because I think people come in with different, some people are extroverts and so they don't have a problem putting themselves out there, but they don't know what to say. Right. And some people are really struggle to be like, I don't want to be seen, and they have to kind of get their courage up. Like what was the thing for you that you think was the biggest challenge that you had to work on first?
Yeah. Mine was consistency, and it
Mm.
was showing up and making sure I did it consistently for myself and my business. Um, I th- I definitely have suffered from this, and I know a lot of people do, where it's easy to show up to commitments that you make to others, and not necessarily always the same to yourself. And so I knew by investing in the program and being in it, it would force me to do that and to show up. Right, that's the whole concept.
Mhm.
So that's what it was for me. It was consistency, showing up, pushing through my fear and imposter syndrome and all that bullshit. Um, yeah.
Was there anything specific thing in the program that helped you do that in terms of, coaching calls or the community or like, or a combination?
hmm Um, the coaching calls for sure, because you in the community make it easy to show up as you are and not to like pretend or I guess have guilt or shame around like maybe not progressing in the way that you would have liked in the week prior or whatever the case might be. Um, so that, in addition to, yes, the calls, they're structured well in terms of reminders to set them up. And I remember I would get in my head, and then when I would make myself schedule a call, because that's why they're there to begin with, and you nudge and do a great job of reminding. And then I would schedule one to talk with you, and then afterwards would feel significantly better and have a lot more clarity and like, you know, do the things that I wanted to do to begin with. Um, yeah.
Awesome. I just would like to call out and note for the record that I do not drag people inside the program nearly as much as outside. I have a reputation for dragging people. So I think
Yes.
some people out there might be like, I'm scared, but I'm actually much nicer than I appear.
Yeah. You know what? Here's the thing that I love about you is that you have candor, right? Like it's not like you do it in this like harmful way that like makes you feel like shit. It's loving, but it's factual if it's done to point something out. So yeah, it's nothing to be scared of.
And I try to tailor too. I mean, I did tell one client that I called her copy a snooze fest, but it's because I knew that she could take it. So I do try to tailor. And to her credit, she came back like days later with just completely revamped copy that was like so beautiful and just one of my most successful students. So cool. So um I one of the things that I really love about and why I created boot camp is because I am not just concerned with the 12 or so weeks that people are with us, but I want people to leave with skills or with principles or with attitudes that will keep serving you. So I was really excited to have you on because it's been about a year at least since you went through boot camp. So I'm curious, what are some things that you've taken away, even though you paused your business and you've been doing other things? Are there things that you took away from boot camp that um, you feel like carry with you and are useful in other things that you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Through the different changes I've made in terms of the work that I'm doing and working for others, working for myself too, but more in that way since that's been paused. Um, some of the concepts are around like content strategy, um, repurposing or organizing content, like with Pot of Gold, for example. This was something that was actually just on my brain earlier today with a conversation I was having with a colleague, actually, and how we could potentially use that to repurpose previous content. Um, I lost track of my thought process, so I'm going to try and bring it back. Um, yeah, and also just things in active campaign, the way that like the brainstorming, even some of the tools that I was introduced to through boot camp, I definitely used in the role that I was in right after I left corporate. And that was super helpful. So there's been several concepts actually that I used in different roles and situations, and it constantly still comes up for me.
Awesome. So I feel like there's a lot of people who kind of circle around, my content and me and hang out on the list and they're thinking about it and they're thinking about it. I think a lot of people are nervous to even apply. Can you talk a little bit about like the sales process? And just kind of talk to those folks that are like thinking about it and for whatever reason hesitant to make that first step.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I think if someone's in a position that they know they're out of their depth when it comes to the things that you're an expert in and do very well, that you can help accelerate them with, and they know like what you stand for, what you do well, probably love your podcast, love the stuff that you post, even the dragging things because they know they're true, but they're still doing them. Like, um, if that like it intrigues you enough that you know it could probably be beneficial for your business, but you're still hesitant and on the fence, the sales process is not like full of pressure or Gronda scaring you out of like your depth or anything. It's a very seamless process, just like everything else. It isn't like scary, I guess. It's either a fit or it's not, and you're honest about that. And it's kind of like this, like it's a conversation, and then it goes from there. It's
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. I actually am really upfront because I've invited people in who weren't a fit, like my filters failed me and I'm super protective of the community and so I'm really honest with people. Even with the application, like I had someone apply the other day and um, they were just really not even close to being like ready to work with us. But I made a Loom video and I said, here's my thoughts about where you are, and here's like a next step that you could take. So if you apply, you're going to get access to the private podcast, which is called Don't Repeat Yourself. So I don't actually even do sales calls until and unless someone gets to the point where they're like really ready and just kind of need that face to face. So, and then it's a lot like this, and that's why I wanted to do these because this is really what it's like, like, and the people show up to coaching calls and we talk about like, how did you like, so one thing we do every week in our coaching calls is we start by sharing wins. What,
Mhm.
what did that do for you?
That would force me to find something that was a win, even if it didn't necessarily feel like it. And I think it did the same for everyone else from what I observed, because, it's every week. And depending on the stage that we were all in our businesses, and what we were muddying our way through in the process of all of this, there would still be something that would come up. Like, even if someone or even me didn't have something to begin with, something would surface. So it forces you to, I guess, acknowledge whatever measure of progress there has been. Um, yeah. And the baby steps that, or the big ones that are taking place in the process.
Yeah. And my favorite thing is, and this still happens, is I'll say, okay, what are your wins? And there'll be this pause. And then people say, well, I don't really have a win. And then they'll share just some amazing thing.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, for sure.
So,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
like people underplaying their own progress. And because you're so in the weeds yourself trying to go through this, it's hard for you to see it. And then in that process, like, you talk about it and it's apparent to everyone else, like, that's actually pretty badass. What are you talking about?
Yeah, yeah, and it's so important to get that perspective and that outside feedback.
Mhm.
So you were our self-described baby entrepreneur. How is it for you being in the group with people at like varying different stages of business than you?
I never felt like out of place, or like I was, I don't want to say not welcome. I never felt that way either. But I guess I felt in good company, and also humanized isn't the right word, but humbled, because even if people were in more advanced stages of their business, I guess, than I was, there would be similar issues or things that would be coming up for them that were for me. So I guess it helped humble me and remind me, like, as they say, new level, new devil. Like, everyone's dealing with their own thing, regardless of where they're at. And, it's not just a me thing, it's an everyone thing. Um, yeah. So I guess it made me feel in community and supported. Yeah.
Awesome. I know a lot of people, concluding myself, have joined coaching programs and um, didn't get what they wanted or didn't get what they thought they were getting. Do you have any regrets about joining boot camp? I mean, you're not doing your business now. Like, do you feel like, oh, that was waste, or how do you feel about it?
No, I wish that I had I've actually, like, if I was in a position to, like, go through it, or like rejoin for a period, I've actually more had inklings, like, I wish I could go back in for a period of time or whatever. So no, I don't have any regrets, because everything that I learned was very valuable and continues to come in useful slash handy. And I still refer back to the things that I learned. So it was absolutely worth it. Yeah. So no regrets.
Cool. Well, we'd love to have you back. You're welcome back anytime.
Well, thank you.
I think that's a great note to go out on. If folks have questions, you can post your questions, but we will be doing more of these. And so if you're thinking about this, if you've been thinking about this, if you've been circling, it's definitely a great time to apply. We're going to be giving you lots of chances to learn more about us so that you can decide if you want to work with us this year. We are launching our last cohort of the year this September, so you have plenty of time and generous payment plans and all the things to help you get in here if you want to get in here. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much, Jacinta. It was so great just to connect with you again. So that was a super bonus
Same.
for me. And I will see you on the internet. Bye,
Yes.
friends.